Hello everyone! You probably know me as a member of the FIFA modding community. I have done quite a few things for the game, some pretty standard and some just plain bizarre, but recently I have been asked about my eFootball conversions. How do you do that? Is there a tutorial? There are tutorials out there on how to convert PES faces or another, like Tom's, but since I have a completely different approach, I am going to show you how I do it. So here's what you're looking for. The first thing you need to do is to get a model that you want to convert. In the first part I will show you how to export it from eFootball. If you already have one, you can skip this part. In this case you will need, well, eFootball itself. To get it, you need Steam and Steam account, so if you don't have it, download it, and if you don't have an account, register one. Click on the Shop tab and type eFootball on the search bar. The game page should appear. This game is free to play, so you don't need to pay for it. All you need to do is to add it to your library and start downloading. Once downloaded, it's necessary to run this game for it to download all the updates given by Konami. Once you reach the menu, you can turn off and go further. Next, go to this post on evoweb.uk forum. Link, of course, will be in the description. Here, we need to download the Unreal Engine viewer. Once downloaded, unzip and click on the last executable file. Enter the path to the game. It's the same directory as the other Steam games. It's Steam Games, Steam Apps, Common, eFootball. Let's press OK. The Unreal Engine viewer will ask for an encryption key. It's the same as the link to the Unreal Engine viewer. Simply copy and paste it. Here. You can also save it somewhere else, so that you do not have to visit this site every time you need it. Check the flat view. Now we need to find the face of our player. How do we do that? We need to know his ID, so we can check it on PESmaster.com. On the main page in the search bar, enter the name of your player. I will use Łukasz Teodorczyk. Scroll down and we see his ID, this ID is 59717. Click on it to copy and paste it into the Unreal Engine viewer. Filter. Here are his files. If we click on a file starting with SK, we can have a 3D preview. A left mouse button rotates the mesh, right mouse button zooms it, and central mouse button or the scroll wheel moves it. We can also change the camera focus by clicking up on the up and down arrows. This one is probably a bit old, but I think it's pretty neat. By pressing the O key, we can go back to the list to export it. Press Ctrl A, select everything, and click Export. Now choose a path. I'm going to create a folder on the desktop, but you will need to name it without any diacritical characters. Trust me, otherwise you would have some difficulties, or rather the tool will have some difficulties to export it there. Select your folder, change the texture format to TGA uncompressed, and click OK. And our files are exported. Yeah, it's all there. I will briefly explain how to install FIFA editor tool. Go to the official site and download it. When you download, unzip it. When you run it, it will scan your computer for supported games. When it's done, choose FIFA 23 and press Select. Like the Unreal Engine viewer, FIFA Editor tool will also ask you for an encryption key. As with everything, you will find the link in the description. Now wait for a few minutes for the cache to build up, and we can start from that point. You need to export the face to base the conversion on. I am going to use Romain Amalfitano, so I will enter his FIFA ID 198817. And right-click on var 0 and select Batch Export All. If you don't know which ID your player has, check on sofifa.com. I'm gonna create a folder for him on the desktop. Keep in mind that you have settings like this: skeleton player content, character rigs, skeleton player, version FBX 2020, scale meters, and ticked on flatten hierarchy. Trust me, it's very important. It will be more pleasing to work with. Anyway, now we have both FIFA mesh and eFootball mesh. Going back to our evoweb.uk post, we also have another tool we need. It's the Blender plugin that allows us to import .psk files. So let's go to the GitHub repository and download the latest one. Here it's the version 2.8.3. As for Blender, versions 2.8 and later are supported. Personally, I am going with version 2.93.5. It's in the previous versions tab on their site. I am used to the X64 and Portable Edition, so that is what I will go with. Run Blender. Then go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and click Install. Now locate the script. You download it and double-click it. It should be automatically activated. By clicking on this arrow, we can see that a new tab has appeared called PSK PSA. Go there, choose to import only the mesh, and click on Import PSK. Go to Game, Assets, Character, real face, and import the only mesh that appears. Our eFootball mesh has appeared. Select Object, Shade Smooth to smooth the mesh. As with the FIFA mesh, it's easier. Go to File, Import FBX and import your head mesh. As you can see, or here that you cannot see, as you can see, it has a skeleton, which is absolutely necessary. What is not necessary are the LOD files. So we can just remove them. First, we need to move our eFootball mesh to the position of the FIFA mesh. I'll use the model's shoulders as a reference point. I'm mostly moving it to the coordinates you see on the screen now, but don't take it as a rule, although it's my preferred choice. eFootball mesh has everything in one model, so we need to separate it. To select a separate mesh, go into Edit mode, press A to deselect everything, move the mouse to a forehead and press L. Then press P and separate by selection. This will be our haircap. I will come back to it later. Hide the haircap and repeat the process again. This will be our head. Hide the head and select the eyeballs. Again, P, separate by selection. These are our eyes. Click Toggle X-ray and select all the hair manually by pressing C. You can also use the scroll wheel to change the size of your brush. Separate to make them as hair. Repeat with the eyelashes. The only thing that should be left is the teeth. Now, select the head model and go to File, Export, Wavefront.obj and limit to Selection only. Now, export it. As with the FIFA mesh, this part can be omitted as you have the alternative. You can use a ready-made mesh which you can download in the description below, but I usually make my own. I do this by selecting FIFA mesh and pressing Shift D to make a copy. Click the right key to not change the position of a copy. Then I go to Edit mode and select it with the L key. But here we have to press the Ctrl I to unselect and leave only the teeth selected, and delete faces to remove them. Now, either go to the UV editing tab or drag the top right corner to the left and click on the UV editor. Enable UV sync selection and select the edges of the UV map. I'm speeding this process by pressing the B key and selecting the shape. Then go to the mesh part, clean up and merge by distance. It should be 29 vertices removed. Now export this model to .obj in the same way as the eFootball mesh. This is the most important part, because we need another tool called R3S Wrap. It's the only pad software here, but it's what will wrap our FIFA model around the eFootball model. If you don't know what do I mean, you will find out soon. There is at least a 30-day free trial, so you can check it out. I'm not going to show you how to install it like I did with Steam, because I already have it as well. So, open Wrap and load the project. Like everything else, this project can be downloaded in the description. It's more convenient than creating it each time. These are the nodes that will do the work for us. First things first, upload the FIFA mesh to FIFA mesh, whatever we want, to PES mesh. These red triangles tell us that something is wrong. As you can see, there is no texture in PES mesh. The face texture for our mesh is in Game, Assets, Character, Real Face. It's this one. But it has transparency. We need to remove this, and I am going to do this using GIMP, which is free, but any graphics editor other than Microsoft Paint should do it. In GIMP, I will add a mask layer and the alpha channel of the transfer layer and simply remove it. That's all, ready to export and import into R3S Wrap. To viewport 3D and press F to see them both. You see the instructions on the bottom left corner. Now we can go to Select Point Pairs and the Visual Editor tab. You can zoom by scrolling, the same with the Alt right mouse button. Alt central mouse button moves the model and Alt left mouse button rotates it. Try not place too many points, and as this could deform your mesh in a weird way. So now we can start making, or rather pointing, the points of reference for our program, because this is wrapping is about. What is important is to not point too many points, it will deform your mesh too much in pretty bad way. What is enough is around, I see, 9 or 10 points around the mouth, 4 in nose and 2 under the nostrils, 3 on top of the nose, 8 around each eye, 3 around eyebrows, 4 per each ear, 1 on the forehead, 2 on each cheek, 1 on a chin and 1 on the neck. And it's done. When you are done, go to the wrapping node and click compute. It should contain an equal number of points. When you are done, go to the wrapping node and click compute and wait. And it's done. But some of the polygons may look strange to you. Then go back to the selecting points and just try to compute it once again, or go to another step. Brush. Especially 3 tools: Relax Project, Move Project, and Clone. All the instructions are also on bottom left corner how to operate in this program. When you are done, press Accept. Go to Save Geometry, choose your directory, don't forget about providing your name, also copy your path from here, since this tool for some reason doesn't want to accept it by importing the file or the file name, and just click on Compute Current Frame. It should be on the desktop already. The purpose of PES texture here is to reshape it to FIFA format. You can see the effect. Just go to Save Image, change quality to 100%, in format to PNG. Also copy the directory from here. And again, compute current frame. But we at least need teeth texture. Here I mostly go with looking for a FIFA texture with similar skin tone and take it from there. I also like to correct it a bit, mostly around eyes, mouth and ears, with a bit of manual job. After all of this, it can be exported. With both normal and spec mask, we can reshape them in the same way as color texture. But these need to be exported to PNG before. With spec mask, we need to remove the blue and green channel and with the red channel only, remove all the red color and put white as a background to have the black mask we have. Generally, they are fine, but as with color texture, I like to mix both normal and spec mask with the FIFA counterparts to make them look cleaner. It's necessary anyway, as we also need texture for teeth. Especially with spec mask, which has big black spots around the mouth, eyes and ears. Once that is done, the textures are ready. Back in Blender, copy the original FIFA mesh, go into edit mode and remove the head, leaving only the teeth. These teeth will be moved to the place of the eFootball teeth, preferably based on incisors. To help yourself, you can activate the snap function to move to the eFootball mesh. When it fits, you can remove the eFootball teeth. Import the reshaped FIFA head. And scale it down to 10%. Now, the next part isn't essential, but I like to do it to make it more like the real FIFA mesh. So I turn on wireframe, reducing the opacity a bit, and reshape the neck vertex by vertex to match the original FIFA mesh. If you do this, you have to be careful not to make the neck protrude out of the shirt and smooth the surface to avoid sharp edges, especially on the back. I would also recommend to move these 2 points further. Maybe not that hard. Now you can rip our mesh again, so select the edge that was merged before. Select it and press V to rip it. Press the right mouse button to make it ripped, but not moved. Now, in your UV maps, rename the UV map to UV channel 0. Then, select your teeth. Then the reshaped head, with hold Ctrl, and press Ctrl plus J. Remove UV channel 1 and copy UV channel 0 and rename it to UV channel 1 again. Also check if your mesh is named head_mat without any numbers. The weights determine the animations of the face, so getting them right is crucial. They have to be good. How do I make them? Copy the mesh you made, Shift D, and change the UV editor into text editor. Now we can use a smart script I found. It's also in the description. Import it. As you can see, we need to paste our mesh name and the UV name of your mentioned mesh. So copy it there, and press Alt plus P to execute it on the FIFA mesh and the copied wrapped mesh. After that, change the value of test to 1. Yes, it reshapes the 3D model to its UV. Do the same with the second mesh. If one of them is too small, increase its size 10 times. Then we need to remove these shape keys. Exactly in that order. Remove basis and test in both meshes. After that, in a reshaped FIFA mesh, remove every single vertex group that is there. After that, select the FIFA mesh and later with Ctrl hold the wrapped copy. Go to Weight Paint. Go to and select Weights, Transfer Weights. settings should look like this. Vertex groups, nearest vertex, by name, and replace. Then do the same with the copied mesh and our wrapped mesh, but with one difference. Instead of nearest vertex, select topology. Maybe turn off that wireframe. It looks great, but there is one problem. It's not quite perfect. You see, we need to temporarily move our teeth back, Ctrl I to invert, and we are going to move our teeth aside, preferably in a way that is easily revertible. And take a look inside the mouth. There are a few vertices that need to be corrected manually. Let me create shortcuts to draw as Z and sampling to X. And correct it. Maybe I will just also move it down a little bit. Our mesh is almost ready. We need to move our teeth to its place. And move it in a way that doesn't stretch part inside of our mouth. I think it also would be good to merge these vertices to teeth vertex by vertex to avoid having transparent holes inside of them. It's not an easy task, but I think it's doable. By the way, you can also hide a specific part of the mesh just by pressing H. also in a part of a mesh. I think it's pretty cool. You can unhide them by pressing Alt plus H. Our mesh is ready. With Shift key hold, drag mesh on list on the FIFA skeleton. Add a modifier, armature to it. Select a skeleton and name it as a reference. The last thing is to rename the mesh to head underscore your ID underscore 0 underscore 0 underscore mesh underscore LOD 0 colon head underscore mat. It necessarily must be this way, at least in case of FIFA 23, otherwise you will achieve Soren's eye bug. Now, with the eyes, there is a small issue, because with reshaped head, the irises, as they are different comparing to the FIFA ones, have the irises that stretch, so when blinking they could stretch out of the eyelids, so it's probably better to move them back a little bit. And y-axis, I think that 0.00075 meter is enough. Now, remove the vertex color, rename a model to eyes underscore mat, go back to UV editor and resize the UV to like 80%. Rename it to UV channel 0 and copy as UV channel 1. That extra UV 0 thing can be deleted. Remove all weights and add a new one named head. In edit mode, attach all vertices to it. With eyes, it's the same. Drag them to FIFA skeleton and rename the same as the head, except of changing head to hair, of course. Finally, we can export this mesh. Select the skeleton and with Shift hold the head mat, so the eyes mat is also selected. Go to File, Export, FBX, tick Selected Objects and tangent space and set scale to 0.01. Such prepared model can be exported. it's time for the haircut. But first, I need to open GIMP and import our original face texture once again. I am turning it all white on a black background. Why? It's going to be our future coeff. Keep it somewhere and don't override it. Now, I will add this as a material for Haircap texture. In Material Properties, I am removing all materials and adding a new one. Click on this yellow button and choose Image Texture. Here you can add the picture. You can ask, why to do this? You could leave this part out as it will be invisible anyway, but I would rather get rid of it completely. I select Face Select, I'm gonna apply this texture also here and remove the part I don't need. I also remove the eyebrows and beard unless they are 3D, otherwise I think they look terrible. Now that they've been removed, we need to move them above the head because they are standing out at the moment. So let's go to the sculpt mode and select Inflate. Maybe I would also turn this black to help to reference that. Again, a manual job. Then go to your coeff texture and resize its height to 3/4. For example, at 1024 pixels, it's 768. Fill the empty space with blackness and export it again. The same had to be done with the UV map of the mesh. And set the pivot as to the cursor in the upper left corner. Now change the UV map height to 3/4, so 0.75. To confirm if we can also apply this texture again. Next up we have eyelashes. If you don't want to bother, you could skip this part and just remove the eyelashes completely, but I'm going to show you how to do it because that's how I do it. First, remove these unnecessary parts. Now you can go with basically two ways, of course, besides removing them all. Keep upper and lower eyelashes, or go the FIFA way and keep only the upper part. For the sake of this tutorial, and as I am doing it on a regular basis, I am keeping them both. Second, remove all the materials and finally merge them into Haircap by pressing Ctrl plus J. As for textures, the eyelash texture is exported with the eFootball mesh, but its location is different. It's Game, Assets, Material Library, Character, Head, Common Textures. It's this one. Import it and scale it down to 256 by 256 and move it to the center. And up 128 pixels. Recolor it to white as well. If behind the eyebrows there is any sort of whiteness, it's highly recommended to remove it. So this part is already removed, so it can be cleaned as well. This lower part is also not used, so if you want, you can remove it entirely. It's time to export it. And we need to do the same with the UV map. It's good to leave it into the cursor as safer. And to move the pivot to the center. And then the result you can't select it by pressing, but you can moving the existing pivot. And if we have to the cursor, we'll scale it down by 12.5% and 0.125 meters. Re-import the texture to see if everything went as planned. As you can see, it went here. The weight for this can be taken from the head, so let's remove all the groups apparent there. and take these from the head. Select the head, select the haircap. You should already know this process. It's the same as before. But pay attention especially to the eyelids, because some of them that are assigned to upper and lower at the same time won't end up looking good in game. In this case, these look almost perfect. You can also correct this a little. Now, remove a vertex color and create a new one called vColor1. For the UVs, remove the extra UVs 0 and rename the remaining one UV channel 0. Copy it and rename it to UV channel 1. Rename the model to Haircap _matte. Now, import any FIFA haircap. Rename its mesh to ours. Remove the old one and drag it into its skeleton. Don't forget about applying the modifier. Now, this model is ready to be exported. Settings as before. Hair. Hair is probably the easiest. Rename the mesh to hair _matte. Delete the weights and copy them from the head. If it's preferable to do it from the head instead of from the haircap, because it matters when the hair is longer. Here, not that much. You may also want to For the vertex color, do the same as with the haircap. Delete the existing one and create a new one with the name vColor1. However, UV needs to be edited. The hair texture is in the same directory as the face texture. Hair texture in PES is usually 1024 by 256. That's why we scaled the head texture, to make the hair fit on the bottom. Of course, the hair also must be white. Finally, export it again. As with UV, scale it in height to 0.25 and move it down by negative 0.375. You can also remove the second UV, copy the first one and name them respectively UV channel 0 and UV channel 1. You might also apply the hair coeff to see if it looks as intended. So now we need to take the skeleton from the FIFA hair mesh. It's in the same way as with Haircap, so we import any hair, copy the name, remove the remaining files, rename our hair to name of that hair, drag it down to the skeleton, and apply a modifier for skeleton named reference. Once that is done, export it. The only things left are the hair textures. We already have a base for our coeff. The thing we need to do is to leave the haircap part in red and the hair in green. As with the blue channel, if your model doesn't have an accessory mesh, you can leave it off, but I usually add a full blue channel. And our texture is ready to be exported. I am already used to importing it into TGA as I don't have any problems with transparency, as you can see. The last part is to make a hair texture. It's good if you have a black and white coeff used before, because it will be more convenient. Import all the player textures we used before as well. So hair texture and eyelashes texture. Remove the alpha channels and arrange them in the same way as coeff. When it's done, merge them. Apply the black and white coeff as an alpha to color. Apply the mask. Finally, you have to reduce the opacity of the alpha channel to like 10 to 15% to avoid the shininess of the hair, but it's mostly dependent on your personal preference. And such texture can eventually be exported. We finally have all the assets we need. Now we can export them into the game. You will need to override the existing model. It's up to you what you override, but avoid models with cloth wrap assets unless your player is bold, but in almost all cases, strand hair. Or eventually not if you don't use strand hair in your game. I already found my candidate to override. So, let's import the textures. Here's the color. Here's the normal. And here's the spec mask. Hair coeff. No, do not resize it. And hair color. As you see, hair color is done correctly. There is no weird black spots with colorful dots. It's all there. For the models, remember to clean up the assigned object here. And to apply models with the settings as shown here each time. Same with the hair, same with the hair cap. And same with the head. Yes, that's perfect. After all this, go to File and Export to Mod. Keep in mind that all the labels with asterisks have to be fulfilled. It's also recommended to put the head ID in the description for everyone to be able to assign the head as they would please. Let's say STO. Click Save. To install mods, you need FIFA Mod Manager. This can be downloaded from the same page as the FIFA Editor tool. Once you downloaded FMM, run it. Select your game, import the mod that you created, and apply it. Before you start, however, I recommend that you also download the Live Editor, which allows you to modify the game on the fly. need to extract it to a separate folder. Run it. One more thing before you start. Open your EA app, go to FIFA 23 and look for properties. Check if you have this command in your advanced options. If you don't, mods won't even be loaded. Just for your info. Run it and then click on Launch in FIFA Mod Manager. Keep in mind that to use the live editor you have to play the game with the controller, either wired or wireless, otherwise the live editor won't work. It's probably some type of security. Once the game has started and you go to the menu, the live editor should appear. Go to Players. The data will be loaded. Unfortunately, since Theodorczyk retired in last year, I need to find any other player that he would receive his space. Let's go with this one. Look for his name. Go to Player Appearance. Change his head class code to Specific. And Player Asset ID to one that we have overwritten. In this case, 212933. To apply the changes for now, go to Player Save. Of course, to permanently apply this to your squad file, you will need to save your squad file. And here it is! It's Łukasz Theodorczyk himself. Say what you want, but in my opinion, it looks very good. This tutorial definitely isn't perfect. I try to make it as universal as possible, but you can make variations of it. But what is most important is that it works, and it works very well. That's all for today's video. I hope that I helped you and responded for your questions and doubts.